Hey everyone, I'm here to showcase to some of you how's my process of creating landing pages in Foundry VTT. You might have noticed on my channel, but I'm not a YouTuber or a content creator, so I'll try to make this straight to the point with minimal editing and the most essential information as possible, but bear with me please. If by the end of this video you have any questions, leave in the comments so I can assist you and answer your specific demands as well. First things first, and a fair warning, the final results will depend more of your creativity and ability to combine images and making something that looks interesting rather than the mechanical parts of it, because it's pretty straightforward to set up this in Foundry and I will show you how. Additionally, it's important to mention that the landing pages are supposed to be a support for your TTRPG games in Foundry, not really the norm. So don't feel bad if yours is simpler than this or if it seems too intimidating when you are checking my explanation. If you never had experience in creating one, I would suggest you to first start small. Start small with only one menu, a still image and all the crucial information on it, because as you feel more comfortable in manipulating those images and details, you will start experimenting and you will have more fun with it. And that's a big aspect of it. I only do mine like this because I enjoy the process and I think it's a nice treat for my players and for myself, while also helping me make the game stay organized. And also I'm a huge nerd for RPG menus and JRPG menus and so on, so it's something that I like. So let's go. First, I will show you the landing page for my previous D&D game. Sadly, this is not active anymore, so we will go through some of its features. I'll start a Foundry here, log in, and you will see that immediately we do have the straight image of the menu. The menus on the sidebar were collapsed as well. So we have all this automation going on in the background that I will show you on how to do it. Before we move and go with the menus as well, it's important for me to mention some of the modules that you will require to make this work. So let's go here on the menus. We'll go on the modules, show the active models, and ignore that some of those modules here are not everything that you will use, but the most necessary ones are Monk's active tile triggers. This is crucial for making everything interactive. You will also need lock view module, because this will force the menus to stay in a specific type of view and screen. It will not allow them to zoom out or move away from the screen. And it's nice to have as well some others that are actually optional, such as Monk's scene navigation, that this will make it easier to navigate on the menu. So you can see here that you can organize on folders, color them as well, so this makes it a bit easier for you and for your players later on to interact. You might want to have on your games as well the weather, the FX master and weather FX, because that helps create some scenery and some flavor to your screens. But you will also use some core information in Foundry, such as the lighting controls and the music controls, the sound controls in general. The title controls are also used for those landing pages, so we will manipulate this a lot. So before we move forward explaining a bit how you are going to do this and configure the modules, I will show you very quickly how those menus work. This is in Brazilian Portuguese, but I will translate as we move forward. Here in this first screen, you have a still image with a couple of visual effects to set the scene, set the mood. You have some lighting effects here to enhance the visuals. So this is really up to you on how you want to configure. It's mostly most of the same as Foundry already does that on the scene, on the lighting configuration. Sorry. You will see down here that I have some walls with lightning that resembles water, and this was one of my first menus that I did, so it's a bit wonky. It's not really well cropped here, so bear in mind with that as well. So moving forward, when you interact with some of those buttons such as this, it will play a sound, but it will also take you to another scene. So When you click here, you will see the party menu with the main characters. You will see their levels, some information related to the class and ancestry as well. You can click on some of those buttons to bring up the character sheets. So when clicking here, it will bring up the details related to Dex, to Roban, and to Shunt as well. So you and your players can navigate on this as you wait the game to start or as you play on. You also have some other buttons here that I used, and the buttons that you use depend on you and the type of information you want to convey, so that's up to you. I wanted to have a lore button where I would use like concepts, organization and factions and events. This is something that I learned along the way, so everything that requires a heavy maintenance from you, so you need to feed more information and add new buttons and also new text, that will become very taxing on you as the game master. So I would advise to try to minimize this as possible, so have more fixed information, things that don't change that often, and keep everything that evolves as your campaign move forward in the journals, because that will be easier for you to organize. Here you also have the world button. When you click on it, it will bring us to a specific page with the world map. This is a homebrew campaign, so it's a specific world that I made for this campaign. Here the players can pan the screen, it also can zoom in and zoom out. You can see that we have some effects here such as birds flying, clouds moving on. We have a specific filter to give this world map sensation. And here you can even customize a bit more. This was done with Incarnate. My mapping skills are not that great, but you can see here that we have like the specific places where they have been, such as cities, villages, and other places in general. I used a specific lightning token here, which is not really a token, it's more like a lightning effect to represent where they were. So as we move forward in the campaign, you can move this to another place. So let's say they are here, you can move and then it will represent that they are here. So it's a nice way of visualization of those details as well. You can also have like a region settings here, so you can click and then it will be the same map but going with a specific region, so they can have a specific information. When you click, it can bring like a journal with more info, so that's up to you as well. It's important to have like a back button, so keep that in mind as you create every screen. You should also include a going back button to improve the user experience on navigating this. You can also have like a landing page for your NPCs, so primary, secondary, creatures, and also entities and gods. When they click on those, it can bring their journal, their info, their images. I also like to represent if they were alive with the green heart, and also some factions information related, if they were friendly, if they were neutral, or if they were enemies. So that depends on you as well. On the quests here, it will not bring anything because I deactivated the module, but when you click here, it should bring the quests that they have active, so that's up to you as well. And on the systems, you can also bring some other homebrew information such as rules, specific information that they might need or they want to see as they move forward, so that's up to you. So that's it for the first landing page. I will show you how to configure those details. First thing that you want to do is to have the modules that I mentioned before. But to configure them correctly, you will need to create like an empty tile. So you go here on the title controls, place a title, you will place here a specific title. And for the title, image, or video, you need to set up like a transparent image. So you can create like an empty image on Photoshop or anything else to quickly resolve this. And when you create it, it will be like a transparent image such as this one. So you can see that every menu here is a transparent image. There might be other ways of doing this in Foundry, but this is how I did. So I don't know if anyone else has any other suggestions, leave in the comments. And you also want to lock those titles, so either you or your players won't be able to throw it around. So that's important. When you click and interact with those titles, you want to configure via Monk's active titles some interactions. So you go here in the triggers, tab, this will only appear if you have the Monk's Active Title module installed. And here on the setup page, you will want to set up as to happen when someone clicks. You can set up on double click or right click, so that depends on you as well. You can be creative with that. You also want to allow when paused, because sometimes we pause the games accidentally and you don't want to lock your players out of interacting with those menus as well. After that, here's where the magic happens. So it's pretty simple. You only want to click on add here. You will want to use the configuration of changing scene as I used here. So you want to change scene for a specific another scene. The other scene that you want to configure is the other menu. So if you look around here on my scenes, I have a specific folder with all the menus. So you want to set up them as scenes with the images filling the whole screen so they can interact. So here, I usually what I do is to target a specific scene. So here I clicked on the group menu. I want to activate only for the triggering player, because if you leave this for everyone, whenever someone interacts with the menu, it will change for everyone. So that's not good. So leave only for the triggering player. You can close this, and you want also to play a sound file to give the audio cue and the confirmation that this happened successfully. So I chose like a Final Fantasy VII confirmation menu sound, so the players can hear it when they click. The same goes for going back. So when you configure going back button, so let's go here on the back button. It's the same thing, a transparent token image actually. You go on the triggers, you want to click, you want an action here to change the scene for the previous menu that they were. In this case, I usually have one back button going to the home screen, not going back to the previous scene that they were in, because I don't know exactly how to do that at the time of this video. And you want to play a different sound file, indicating that this was like a going back, not really a confirmation. So when I click here, you will see that there is a different sound. See? So that's about it. That's the main gist of configuring the buttons to transition between scenes. When you go to a specific scene, to configure it as a menu, you want to go and do the following. On the background image, you will set up the image that you want to be like the main screen or the menu screen that you are creating. Sometimes I usually leave the main home button showing navigation for all players, so they can, as we are playing, interact with it and see some other details as well. You want to leave this gridless, so it's not a gridded panel. You also will want this to have like a specific dimension depending on your computer or your screen or your player screens as well. Usually have a padding percentage as well that is low or at least padless, so everything is visible. This is actually not that relevant because we will do the magic here in the lock view scene tab, sorry. So what you want to do here, and this is only shown if you have the lock screen module active, you will configure as following. You will click on the lock pen because we do not want players to right click and pan the image around. This would make a not so pleasant experience as moving in the menus. You want to lock zoom because on specific menus, you do not want them to zoom in or zoom out unless you want. That's up to you. You will set the auto scale to horizontal fit because images should fit first horizontally and then they will fit vertically automatically depending on the type of image you create. Landscape 0 on rotation. You also want to configure sidebar scene on collapse because when they move between the menus, this sidebar here will go to the right and will be hidden by default. You can also hide the UI elements on sidebar. This can collapse because this will hide those icons here on the left, so that's important also to create a clean view, but that's up to you as well if you want them to have this or not. So that's most of it to create a forced view of the menus. So independently of who interacts of it, this will be the main default view. And this stays for other menus as well. So I'm trying to right click here. I cannot pan the image. I'm trying to zoom in and zoom out. I cannot do it. This is not true on the world tab. So here is where I allowed for them to zoom in and zoom out. So this is the only place that they are able to zoom in, and also to pan the image so they can have a better navigation on this. So that's most of it. As I mentioned before, the mechanical parts are pretty straightforward. What will make the difference is how you do it on the images, and I will show you my process in Photoshop right now. So here we have Photoshop, and I mentioned Photoshop, but you can use any software for image editing that you want, so that's up to you. Here I have like the image configured as I want them to see in the first initial view of the menus. So I have the logo, I have the menus around here, and I have everything lined up. You will see that down here on the right I have my folders. It's important for you if you are doing on Photoshop or other softwares to keep everything organized, because this is probably a file that you will be revisiting as your campaign moves forward. So when I interact here, I can like hide some of the elements. I can see some of the parts of the menus. I can also add some other parts here. So you can see where I bring up the NPC menu, the world map, the lore, so the character menu. So it depends on how you want to do it, but usually what I usually do is to organize on folders and then set up specific scenes and export the images after I finish. So let's say this is the main menu. I'm happy with that. I will go on File, Export, save for Web Legacy, and turn it into a PNG, and after that convert to a web image. So I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, web, because that's the best image version for Foundry. It's lighter and it will load faster for everyone. So I recommend using that. Yeah, I think that's it for the main menu. Let's go for the character view so I can give you an example. So it's important for you to highlight where they are. So make a different color in the menus, indicating where they are selected. This is done by the images, but you can also do this in Foundry via text. So that depends on your choice. You can have all the names of the characters. So if I interact here, you can see that I can hide and bring up some other parts of it. Again, this will depend on how you want to organize this visually. One other tip that I give is to blur the background, so it gives that feeling of navigating a menu that is on front of the first menu, so you will have a more pleasant visual experience for your players. Remember to include all buttons that you want them to have access, because the buttons will be configured in Foundry, but the images will be configured in Photoshop or your specific software, so keep that in mind. Same goes for primary NPC. So see here that I have this part selected as a menu selected, and also have the primary NPC's text highlighted here to indicate that they are on this tab here. And going back on Foundry, as I mentioned, you will have to configure each scene for each menu. So that's up to you on how many menus you want to do. You don't need to do every single one like I did, but that's something that I enjoy to keep everything more organized. And going back on Photoshop, after you completed it, you can again export it and then ship to Foundry, where you will select here, for example, on configure, you will select the image here on the background image. Okay, so that's it. I will now show you another landing screen that I had for a Pathfinder game, so you can see some other different examples. Okay, here we are in our Pathfinder game. So let's join in. You will see a couple of similarities, but some things are different as well. The main philosophy for the configuration is still the same. So you'll see here that we have, this is a screen that I use for the downtime activities in my Pathfinder game. This is something that I did differently for this campaign. So this background here will change depending on where they are in the story. So right now they are resting, they're doing downtime activities in the towns. So this represents like they being in a tavern or talking to people. There are different types of lightning set up here, some particle effects. I also added like a lightning effect here specific in the potion. It's a specific delimited for this potion area, so you will need to configure what you want for your games. But the logic is still the same. You click here to start, it will play a confirmation sound. It brings a new menu in the front of the previous image. You have all the buttons here you want to set up. So group, you go here, you can see the characters, their classes, their levels. You can interact and open up the character screens. We'll bring the character sheets as well. You can see here some of their pets, which is different from the D&D game. It will depend on what you want to do to your game in particular. You can see here the lore. As I mentioned before, this is something that I dropped on my newest screens because they tend to have a lot of upkeep, so you will need to feed information here as you go by. What I did differently for this menu was on the NPC buttons here, where when interacting, and you can see here a detail, when I click on the menu, it highlights a specific button here. This is done in Photoshop because this is an image, and on this image I highlighted this. So when we click through Monk's active title, it will represent like this image is activated, for example. So going back to the NPCs here, divided the NPCs in aligned, neutral, and enemy. So it makes easier for categorizing everyone. And I use Monk's active title to open up a screen for a module, which is Simple Quest by Reaper93. When you click on it, it will open here the menus. You can see that they are all organized with their stories, their pictures. Some of them are missing because this is a sandbox environment. So yeah, that's about it. This is done differently because I found that this was easier to update as we moved forward, instead of doing like specific texts here on the menus. So it's better on doing this way because they will have seen this as a journal, so it's easier for me to keep up. So as an additional treat, I will show you now my current landing page for my Pathfinder game. Hopefully my players don't see this yet because it was not revealed to them yet. So here it is. Don't mind some of the other modules around here. So this is my live environment, not the sandbox one I showed previously. Differently, what I made on this version was to create a background that is animated. So this is not really an image, it's a video playing on the background. This is, I believe, from Chepeco's scenes. You can subscribe to their Patreon to get access to those files as well. I have slapped the logo here and the buttons. The button and the logo is an image, so if I go here on the menu, right click, configure, you will see that I did something differently here. You will see that the background image is the MP4 and we have the files here as a title. So this is an image, a transparent background image with the logo. I did this on Photoshop as I shown you before. So it's just a background empty with the logos and the button. The button has some kind of animation here, which is, you can see here, it's a title, clickable as well as I shown you before. So when they click here, they will be taken to the next menu. So what I did differently here was to add lightning effect. So out of here, it looks pretty weird and there is no animation here. So you can bring it here, make some walls around it, and it will animate as it has some kind of effect. But off to our new menu. So it's not very different. I will give you a glimpse on it. We have here a different view, so I have added the images of the player characters actually. You can click here to go to the menu of exploration order. This is something that I'm experimenting. We have the revelations page where we see some important details related to the plot and the story that is going on, the objectives that will bring up some of the quests that they are going, and the world map. This is differently from before, so I'm using on Galarian, the official Pathfinder world. So This is using the HTML inline web viewer, if I'm not mistaken, the module, which will bring a file that is external. This is the Pathfinder interactive map. So I have not done this. I have only asked Foundry to open this window, and this is done by having the module active. You create a button similarly to what I have explained before. You go to triggers, on click, on actions, you will run a macro. This macro should be activated only to the triggering player. So the macro is added here. It's a specific code, so if you are interested on it, leave a comment. I can copy and paste it to it, or you can pause and copy the code here if you are playing on Pathfinder. But basically this works for any page. You just need to change the URL on this highlighted area and change some of the dimensions or the name of the title. So that's about it. And we also have the character pages here, as I mentioned before. So when you click on a character, it shows a bit of their story, their classes, a picture. You go here, you can see anyone. So this is differently because I have also added some visual effects. So you can see lightning, you can see some fog here as well. This is added by some overlay. So this is those are actually videos playing above the images, and they add effect to the characters, each for each player in different colors. We have also the shop button, which currently is not active, but I do plan here to have a screen where they will be able to click on tokens and interact with shopkeepers where they are right now. So I hope you have enjoyed it.